Hey, it's Pastor Quincy, and I'm here with my friend Kimberly, and just want to say hello to you, Kimberly.
Hello, Quincy, Pastor Quincy.
You can call me Quincy. Thanks for joining us. And I want to share an introduction so that we all know Kimberly a little bit from Kimberly's website. Kimberly Chapmon-Wynne is the founder and principal consultant at Mosaic Insights Consulting. Mosaic Insights designs and delivers customized programs to create a culture of multi-ethnic awareness, sensitivity, and competency in the workplace and beyond. Kimberly is a skilled executive coach and facilitator. She has over 25 years of human resource leadership experience, working with Fortune 500 corporations, new business startups, nonprofits, faith-based organizations, and municipalities. Kimberly earned a master's in business administration with a concentration in marketing and human resources from Indiana University and a Bachelor of Arts in psychology and communications from the University of Cincinnati. Raised in the greater Cleveland area, Kimberly and her family came home from living in Santa Monica, California for a 5-day visit in 2013, but lost their way back to California and found themselves enjoying the ease, friendliness, and opportunities provided by Midwest living. So Kimberly, today I wanted to talk to you about to give us some insights into some of the things that are going on in our community in Cuyahoga Falls, specifically where our church is, Cuyahoga Falls Church of the Nazarene. And I know it's that you'll be able to offer us some good insights because you've kind of experienced this dynamic that's going on here in different places. Our town is becoming increasingly diverse. It hasn't had a history of being very diverse, but with each year, we're becoming a more diverse place. I know that, if you look not too far back, our town was 90% white. Now it's somewhere in the 90 high 80s. And the school districts kind of show that we're heading more diverse day by day. And that's exciting. But I think it provides those of us who are living here the chance to maybe think about things in some different ways and be more aware of what it's like to be in a multi-ethnic community, how to be welcoming to people who are of different backgrounds and ethnicity than us, how that works. So I have some questions to kind of work through some of these thoughts, and I really appreciate you taking the time to have the conversation with us about it. So the first question that I want to ask you today is, as a church, we want to be welcoming towards our community. We want to really reach our community. So what are some ways that you can think of for us to be intentionally welcoming toward people of all racial and ethnic backgrounds?
First it's easy. Was it George Judy says, keep it simple? But first it's really easy. What were we taught? What were we taught in Sunday school? I know now I'm dating myself, but treat others the way you would want to be treated, right? Isn't that what we teach our children? That's what I teach my girls. And so just as the community is integrating, as you're starting to see people of different hues, it's all about love. It's about love. It's about loving thy neighbor and treating them the way you want to be treated. And sadly, we have this fear of other. But the reality is we aren't other. We're all God's children. And somehow we've allowed the forces that be to have us believe that we're different, and we're really not. You strip away my skin, I strip away your skin, we're going to be a whole bunch of little ugly organs walking around. But that's the only difference, right? So just treat others the way you want to be treated. Be open, be hospitable. One of the things I think about, and I may be going off a little bit, but there was a time we were living in California, we were looking for a new church. And we were open to multi-ethnic churches. That's just kind of who our family is. We were living in a multi-ethnic community. Actually, it was predominantly white, to be honest. And I had dreamt of going back to the days when you could walk to church. And so we decided on a few churches that we could walk to. Again, predominantly white. One was a Methodist church. And as we went, we would go in and people would just say, hi, how are you? Welcome. And we would sit in service and then we would leave and we would go out and they would have their coffee hour or whatever. And it would be me, my husband, my 10-year-old child, and my 5-year-old child who had went at the Methodist church. She actually attended preschool there. And while we were standing with our punch or our coffee, no one would speak to us. And this is supposed to be a community that they enjoy the idea that they were open to all races and international communities and all, but no one would speak to us. And that's when I began to do, and part of my teaching series is to talk about what it really means to be hospitable, what it really means to be open, what it really means to look at someone as a Christian, to look across and see someone else and smile with your eyes and extend that hand of friendship and that hand of welcome. So.
Yeah, that's certainly something, in general that we all have to be thinking about as churches begin to open back up, because, for a while here, a lot of us have been online, and maybe even some of those habits that we've had in usual times aren't back yet. But to think about people coming in, I like the word open that you used, like having a posture of openness and listening. I think that's crucial. So really appreciate you sharing.
What did I say? Smile with your eyes. Because we're going to be all masked up. But I don't know about you, but I can tell if someone is smiling or not. You can look at their eyes. And eyes say a lot. Eyes are a window into the soul. So if you are open with your eyes and with your, you can't hug, but there's a certain, people feel it. And particularly people of color, or people that have been othered, because we're so used to not being welcomed that we feel when we are welcomed.
I wonder if some folks who are watching this video might have some very basic questions to ask. And so I'm trying to come up with those. And so here's one that I thought of. What is one thing that Black Christians wish that white Christians knew about being a Black Christian in a mostly white community, or just basically a Black person in a mostly white community?
Again, that we love Jesus Christ just like you do. We know that we too are his children. We don't always trust that you know that. And so there is that fear there, because the Bible has been used. God's word has been used against us at times. So when we're coming in to a community, there's a little bit of hesitancy, right? There is a little bit of that, protect my heart. Are they going to see me? Are they going to care? Are they going to, believe some of those, old tropes about people of color? Am I going to be seen or stereotyped? And the reality is we just want to be seen. And sometimes as Black Christians, or as Black people, period, sometimes we try so hard to be accepted that we end up losing ourselves, a little bit of ourselves. And we don't want to do that. I want you to see me in my wholeness, right? And I want you, as you get to know me, and it's a process, you're going to get to know me. And that's part of it. Just get to know me and forget the stuff you think you know, or you've seen on TV, or you've seen on the media, or you've read in some books that may not be true, but just get to know me and allow me to get to know you. And as we get to know each other,
I hope that those who are listening to us can think about how to apply these to all kinds of different communities. I know in our community we have a large population of folks from Nepal, and if someone's wearing a headdress, that kind of brings up a variety of preconceptions to people as they see them around. And then we have, of course, right next to us is Akron, and there's a large Hispanic population, and there's all kinds of preconceptions that people have. So I think that that's crucial to be able to leave that stuff behind and say, hey, this is a person who's got something, who's got a life and experiences that I can learn from, and I can become the person God's created me to be by interacting with them. What I was going to ask is, I know some folks might be listening to this and saying to themselves, well, it sounds like what Kimberly is saying is that I need to just ignore that somebody else is of a different color or race than I am. Like I need to be colorblind to it, that kind of perspective on things, that's the real solution, that if I just treat everybody how I want to be treated, which obviously it's very good, that everything else will work itself out. And I wonder if you might talk about how, the idea behind that, about how maybe the idea of colorblindness isn't quite the whole perspective.
Yeah. When someone says they're colorblind, and particularly when it comes to race, you're saying you don't see the person. You're saying that you're invalidating their experiences, that their lived experiences, aren't true. And the fact is that we have our experiences, sadly, rightly or wrongly, based on what we look like on the outside. So your wife might experience things because of her white skin, and I may experience something different. For example, going into a store, right? For example, I was a senior manager at an oil company, and I was driving home one night from work on the freeway. Actually, I was coming from a banquet. I was stopped by the police, and I had my car searched for drugs because I was 30 years old driving a what they had perceived to be a nice car. That was a real experience. When I tell that story, I'm told, oh, that didn't happen to you. No, we have to be able to share our experiences and recognize that we do have experiences, and often it is based on perceptions, that prejudgment. And so when you say you're colorblind, you're saying none of that matters. I don't see that. No, I need you to see me. If we're really going to break down the barriers and be who God made us to be, we have to see all of his children and all of their beautiful hues. It goes back to the story we sung in Sunday school, black and yellow, red and white. We are precious in his sight. God sees us. He knows where he placed us. He knows that our skin color is based on where he had our ancestors and how close we were to the equator. And that's really the only difference. But somehow, particularly if we're honest, in America, right? Things began to break down around racial lines, around skin color. That is not real. And I want you to see me. I want you to experience me in my fullness. I want you to experience me based on my hair texture, my skin color, my eye color, all of it. Because the reality is we kind of do that anyway, even within our race. And I always really even hate to say the term race, because race is a social construct. It's made up. It's really based on skin colors. If we all went back to the way children look at each other, and it's all based on the Crayola crayons. And if you think about your son drawing a picture, he's going to draw people the way he sees them. So some are going to be peach, some are going to be tan, some are going to be brown. He sees them and uses those crayons to depict them. He doesn't say, oh, I'm colorblind. And just because I'm talking about kids, one way to start that is we tell children when we're walking out in the street and they see a tree, and little ones like your son, oh, that's a green tree. That's a red car. That's a purple chair. But when it comes to people, we're like, oh, if somebody says, Mommy, why is his skin brown? Which I've heard, oh, don't say that. Don't say that. No, it's okay to say, because God made my skin brown. And we start at some point saying, no, don't see color. But God wants us to see color. And he wants us to love all people of every color.
Like that concept of saying to myself, rather than try to, avoid thinking about it, avoid seeing it, avoid talking about it, to lean into the beauty of how God designed us, that, we all have different ways that God's designed us, and it affects our experiences in this life, like you said, sadly, in some cases, sadly, but it's something that God is moving and showing us through. So that's great. I really appreciate you sharing that with us.
You use the perfect term. Lean in, lean into it. Don't back away from it. And again, it really is really simple. I use a lot of simple terms because it's really simple. It goes back to, what was a book years ago? You're probably too young, but everything I ever needed to know, I learned in kindergarten. It's really simple.
Hey, this is Pastor Quincy, and just wanted to wrap up the video because my mic kind of cut out at the end. We really appreciate Kimberly taking the time to talk with us and share her wisdom. Hope that you'll take the chance to think about what she shared as we continue to move forward into a community and a nation that's becoming more diverse, and think about how we can be the image and the voice of Jesus to help everyone know that they are welcome, they are loved, their voices are heard, their concerns, the oppression that they experience are recognized, and that we are standing up for them and wanting them to be included fully into our communities, into our churches, into the life of those who are following Jesus. That's my heart and my desire for our church, one of the big things that I kind of have a burden about. So I'm grateful that Kimberly helped me share a little bit about that by sharing from her heart and her wisdom.